I generally have positive things to say after being kind of up and down throughout. And it's because, let me just throw this out there. I don't have a ton of detailed thoughts to go into, but I just wanted to say I got to the point where I was like, hey, this is an interpretation of no, this is a specific story within an interpretation of the universe, and it doesn't have to connect every, like, I think of it like building a building. This is not like putting a new building in where all the pipes have to connect perfectly, otherwise the whole neighborhood's going to be a mess. This is not what that is. So like, and a lot of times we think of it that way, like, hey, if you're going to insert this story right here into this spot in the timeline, you better not mess up one detail or you're done. And I understand where that comes from, because we all hold these things so dearly, and I sometimes do the same thing. But once I kind of let it go and said, you know what, instead of that, how about we allow it to be, okay, they're interpreting the universe around it in a certain way, telling a story within that, and that makes it much easier for me to digest and be like, well, okay, that detail might not line up with what I remember from A New Hope, but you know what, it's fine. I'm just going to enjoy it for what they've made, and that allowed me to really enjoy the overall series, even though I could put on my critic hat, just like I could with most shows, I guess, and movies, and really kind of like, boy, they really messed this part up. So I chose not to do that, and boy, did I enjoy it a lot more. And I keep seeing YouTube video, like titles, how they, and even the titles, I'm like, man, how sad that
the cringy clickbait titles or whatever.
Yes, how sad that you clearly are not even allowing yourself to enjoy it. So I started watching the beginning of one from a YouTuber who I kind of enjoy some of their content, and I was like, oh wow, you really didn't like this element. Let me see what you had to say. And you could tell from the beginning when they started off the conversation by saying, like, it was him and his other Star Wars fan, apparently. They claimed to be Star Wars fans, and they kind of go like, oh, dude, do you want to just go first, or should I? Like, do you want to unload first? Like, they clearly already hate everything about this. And I just stopped watching. I was like, I have no interest in this at this point.
Yeah, I have a guy that I follow on YouTube. I don't anymore. I haven't for years. Called Star Wars Theory, and like he is the top like guy of knowledge and lore and everything like that. Has hated everything that Disney has done since took it over, and has turned it to his entire identity.
Got it.
Like where he's just like, here we go again, another day in Star Wars Disney. I'm like, dude, you've been reporting on this for like 6, 8, however long they've been doing this, 8 years, 6 years, or whatever.
I guess 7 since.
If it's so 7, miserable, stop.
Right. So that was a long way of me saying, like, I let that stuff go as a big fan. I'm not a major mega fan, but I'm a pretty big fan of Star Wars. I ended up really enjoying it, and if you just watch the first 3 episodes, you might be like me, kind of like, where are they going with this? I don't know how they're gonna. That's why it's a series. It's a whole 6-episode story.
It's a 6-hour movie.
I thought they tied it together really well, and I really enjoyed it.
Which is why I like watching things back to back.
Yeah, man.
Here we go. We got to talk about this again, don't we?
In this case, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you're an idiot for it. But yes.
Hey, why don't you follow the advice right behind you? So.
I can't see what's behind me because it's fake.
He just starts looking. He's like, it's just my wall, man.
A key?
Yeah,
Mickey? It's not my real
Mickey?
wall, right?
Mickey? oh. So what were your guys' thoughts? And you can get specific if you want to. This is going to be spoiler-ish. All of us have seen all the episodes, so if you're listening or watching and you don't want to hear anything about it, you can. This is the last
episode
thing we're talking
ended
about.
for you.
So,
yeah,
you can shut it down. But
I can't believe they killed Luke, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it really
was there actual articles?
Really in the multiverse of madness now. You know what I mean?
Yes. Was that real though? Were there actual articles being written? Like, are they gonna kill?
You can't. Anyone who you can Photoshop anything these days. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know what's real or what's not.
It's hard to say because I
think there were speculative articles before the final episode saying, "What if they did this and they create a multi?" There were speculative pieces about it.
Okay, well that's dumb.
It's just not. That's not what Star Wars has ever been.
Yeah,
about.
Right.
So
in fact, in Rebels they introduced time travel and stuff like that, and they're like, no, let's not do that again.
So can I just point out the things that people were ticked off early in this series because Grand Inquisitor was one of the big ones. I can't believe you killed him off. You just broke the canon. Well, no, they didn't, because there was a plan for that storyline, and
you didn't watch the whole
show.
Yeah.
And again, we're doing spoilers here. He of course shows back up alongside Darth Vader.
He has 2 stomachs. Also,
I know. Wow. A lot of people can survive big stomach stuff.
Did not know that.
But he's not the first person to survive via rage. There's a whole arc with Maul. He gets sliced in half, and anger to Obi-Wan
And
keeps
is
him
still alive,
so.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a little poke in the stomach, like Maul got literally sliced in half, so
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
So what do you guys think about we'll go to Obi-Wan in a second, but what do you think about the Reva storyline, her arc of who they end up revealing her to be, who I thought was pretty
I can
obvious.
tell you what the internet thought about her.
No, I want to hear what
God
you
dang.
guys think.
What a
Wait,
train
hold
wreck.
on, which
cesspool.
character?
And by the
Reva,
way,
the third sister.
It's a few jerks.
Oh,
but
okay.
Anyway, what do you think about what they did with her storyline,
Well-
which I think was telegraphed, but still
Yeah.
It's a classic story of of light going to dark and dark going back to light. You've seen that story with like Quinlan Voss. Maybe not you guys, but people Star Wars fans have seen that story before. Knights of the Old Republic. Kylo Ren's a good example of that. It's something that has happened many times before. So people who were mad about it, I was just like, well, this happens a lot. This is a pretty used storyline or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought even the sister in Fallen Order, like she kind of like at the very end, it's like, hey, maybe I was wrong, and then Vader kills her at the end. So it's just like this is a story that we've seen plenty of times, and I thought the execution was fine. I thought it was good. I kind of think it was a weird place to put it in with such a personal story with Vader and Obi-Wan. So like sometimes it kind of felt disruptive, like being there. But
I can see that. Yeah.
But like I don't. That's not a criticism. It's just more of an observation, But like you have to have the Inquisitors there because at this time they're at odds with Vader, like vying for like the Emperor's like eye, So like Vader like hates the Inquisitors and like their existence and like they're just kind of tools to him and stuff like that, and they're very existing during this time, so they had to be in this show in some capacity. If Vader was going to be in there, because they were kind of always in his litter, So I've seen a lot of criticisms like, well, like the fifth brother, like Han from but he doesn't do anything, and all these people don't do anything, and it's like, yeah, they don't, because it's not really about them. We're here to see Obi-Wan and Vader, like face off. They're just there because in the canon they would have been there. They would have been there in the situation. So,
and heaven forbid Disney try to create Disney try to create a new character, because everybody always gives them crap. And not making anything new in Star Wars.
Shame on her for being black and female, right, guys?
Oh my god.
It's interesting. I don't think any of the criticism directed at her made any sense, because she is clearly a good actress, but sometimes, I'm not trying to be critical here, but sometimes the writing just wasn't great for her character. It got better. Wars, baby. It got better as I want to be clear. I think it got better as the show went on. I thought that they gave her better material as the episodes went on, and I thought that's why it felt like, well, I don't hate her that much. Well, that's because the material that she had to work with got better, I thought.
Well, and another thing I always see, it's like, well, she was just so emotional. I was like, well, yeah, you follow the dark side by having emotions. That's the whole. That's the whole story, guys, that we've been doing since the beginning of all this. That the dark side is giving into your emotion. So that's why Kylo Ren throws tantrums, and we didn't like it then either. And Reva doesn't like it, but Vader in this show throws tantrums
big time,
and we love it. Everyone like nom 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 nom, where everyone's eating it up. So it's okay that he does it, but any other Sith, God forbid, ever have feelings about him.
Well, also, I mean, for God's sakes, this guy that was a Jedi just came waltzing in, just started murdering kids. Like, of course she's gonna have emotions.
Traumatizing, man.
And the rage, like you said, connected to the Sith stuff.
Did I now when in her flashback? Did she get stabbed as a kid and survive that?
She did. She got stabbed and survived. Yeah. So she like survived underneath like the bodies of her friends, which I thought was dark, super dark. Which Jeff and I were also talking. It's like, there are articles where it's like, this show was darker at one point. And I was like, man, if it was any darker, you couldn't have it on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like, it was already skirting the line of like being. Vader walks into a town and just starts murdering people.
Dude, kids, snapping necks.
Yeah, snapping necks and like killing kids and like and it's one of those things where I'm just like, this is what Vader in the Disney era has never, like, we've gotten the coolest version of Vader ever with Rogue One and this and stuff like that. Like, Vader's back and he's the coolest bad guy ever, and like that's because of Disney's like tutelage or
closing scene of Rogue One, one of the coolest things Star Wars has ever seen.
Yeah, and we get a lot of that in this. Like, there's moments where Vader's like walking really quickly into a room because he's frustrated, and I'm like, boy, look at that guy walk. Like, it's just there's a presence of him physicality wise.
Can I just say something? So, like, obviously Star Wars started in the 70s, right? Or late 70s, 77?
70s, 70s.
So, like, not to sound like a jerk, but like I think Vader is inherently a little goofy looking. If I'm gonna be honest, I think it's like something, I don't know. I think it's something about the helmet is a little goofy looking, but he walks into a room and you're like, I'm like, holy shit, what's this guy's about?
I gotta
to
pretend to take a phone call real quick.
Yeah, like it's still he has a You're right, he has a presence. I mean, he's goofy,
Hayden Christensen
I think, in my opinion, but.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. But the other part I do. Hayden had to like go through like training of how to like walk like Vader and stuff like that. Like he went through like a 6-week like walking.
Yeah, because he never actually got to
walking.
Vader.
Yeah,
right?
so like that. A lot of like there's 3 people playing Vader in this show. You know, there's just like the Mandalorian. You know, like there's the sword master. You know, who does a lot of the shots like in the combat scenes. There's the tall guy in the suit, so anytime he needs to be standing next to someone to make him seem like he's taller than everybody, that guy's in the suit, and then Hayden's in the suit the rest of the time. So just like the Mandalorian, it takes like 3 different people to like play these characters.
My head hurts just trying to think of the logistics of putting together those shots, man. No thank you to any of that. So in general, I thought they did a pretty good job with Reva's storyline, even though I kind of guessed it when they put out the tweet. We're excited to see her story unfold. I was like, oh, okay, she turns good at the end. Like I saw it coming before the story told me it was going to happen, so I was a little annoyed.
The show opens up. I was going to say the show opens up like on you seeing a girl. I was like, oh, hello, you know, like I caught it immediately. I was like, hey, that's probably Reva, you know.
Same here.
I wouldn't have known she's going to turn good. Because I didn't, so maybe you guys knew that this character existed before the show started. I'm just going in as a user.
I wasn't aware, yeah.
No, she's a brand new character of the show.
No, I know. I'm just saying, you guys are sounding like you're saying as soon as you saw a character, you knew she was going to turn good at the end.
No, I'm just saying that the second I saw a little black girl in the very first scene of the show, I go, that's Reva.
Like I didn't know that Reva was a name before the show started.
Well, I just knew because we saw trailers of her in the trailers.
Okay.
You know, you see. When you're watching an Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer, Reva is in the trailers. So, like, I was like, oh, that's the Inquisitor that's going to be hunting everybody is this little girl in the first scene of the show. I had no idea she's going to turn good. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, fair enough. That's what I was trying to say was that, unfortunately, in this day and age of social media, when we don't have to go into a discussion about what happened, who said what, and whether or not it was overreacted to, overanalyzed, or given too much of a platform. But on the other side, unfortunately, because Disney needed to defend their actress, which they shouldn't have to defend her from this horrible stuff that's being said. I agree, they shouldn't have to. But the way they defended her, at least for me as an average Twitter scroller, I was like, oh, she's going to turn good. Because they said, we love Moses and we're excited about the character Reva and watching her story unfold. What else could that mean? I'm sorry, but I feel like Disney spoiled their own character. Maybe that's just for me. Maybe that's only a Tim problem, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, she's going to turn good. So I was kind of waiting for the good turn to happen. So when they revealed, like, oh, she was one of the kids, I'm like, yeah, of course she's trying to kill Vader. Like, that to me made it disappointing, and that's just because of the nature of our social media world that we're in, and I shouldn't have been reading it.
That's not even like a point that needs to be used to, like, not harass a human being who's playing a character. Like the fact that that's even, like, even having to be said is insane. Like,
correct.
It was nice seeing the cast stick up for each other. I felt like the sequel trilogy cast, like no one was really backing anybody up.
Again, that's why I'm separating those two things. Like they needed to support her. The cast supporting her is great. That's awesome. But the way they worded that, like, it's almost like they were telling people, this is what me. I felt like they were almost telling everyone, don't worry, she's a good guy. You'll like her at the end. That's what it felt like they were communicating with. We're excited for her story to unfold.
I definitely didn't get that, but I kind of saw, again, like when we were a few episodes in, I was like, oh, I kind of see where we're going with this, you know. So I think I figured out maybe organically. So
trying to separate from that, I was like, I think I liked what they did with her story. We've seen it before in Star Wars. I said the same thing Kyle was saying earlier. The guys, this has been done before. And I thought they did a pretty good job of it. I liked the reveal that Vader's known all along, and like he kind of led her along to believe she was moving up the ranks and getting closer to him when she really wasn't. Like I liked all of that stuff. I thought that was well done and well played out. And it kind of made the earlier episodes make more sense. So I liked that. I overall enjoyed her storyline. And if they bring her back in future stories, I'm interested to see what they do with her.
Yeah, we got another Force user just out in the universe during a time where a lot of people during the original trilogy was like, "What's the Force?"
Right.
So yeah, that's fun.
That's that
fun.
made up nonsense.
Yeah. Han Solo. I've been around to a lot of places and never heard of that. It's like, dude, the Jedi existed 30 years ago, dude. I don't know why you're.
Well, the universe is infinite, so I mean,
sure
that
that
in
this
a galaxy that was far away. Just don't worry about it.
The overall Obi-Wan storyline, I thought the way that they circled it back at the end was very, very satisfying, all the way down to that final battle where, over the last few episodes, he started to kind of get back to his old self.
I liked watching the rust fall off of him.
Both in terms of his ability, but also his confidence and like who he really is, his identity, kind of figuring out who he is, like remembering who he is, kind of that Mufasa moment, like remember who you are. Like he kind of had that where he remembered, oh yeah, I'm one of the best Jedi that's ever lived. And so I'm gonna do some cool stuff.
The frickin' scene where he just lifts his hands up and just starts pelting the shit out of
rocks.
Vader for like
Not
a
even
full
rock,
minute.
Boulders
with boulders.
Yeah.
So cool.
Like, oh my god, like that was amazing.
I actually said out loud when that happened, I was like, Dragon Ball Z. Like for some reason that just made me think of that type of a fight where he's like,
that area
he almost had like a
fighting
smirk on. He had a smirk on his face too, a little bit, right? Like a tiny bit, like a little bit of a smirk.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. Even the area they were fighting was very Dragon Ball Z, like just like stalagmites or stalactites coming from the ground.
Everyone who was complaining about the line in episode 4 where he says, "Last time we fought, I was a student, you were the master," or whatever that line is, right? And then they're like, "Well, look, he just got his butt kicked in the junkyard with the fire and all that stuff." Okay, well, that now no longer holds any water. That complaint doesn't even hold water because what just happened here in this final duel. You saw who the master was.
He was still calling him master too, so it's like in his mind, those pieces of Anakin were still like calling him, So it's like, but after this fight and after he gave it all away, or after he like stopped this obsession and killed that little part of Anakin, like, he's the master now, So again, a lot of lines and moments actually recontextualize a lot of stuff from episode 4, 5, and 6 in ways that enhance it for the better.
I think so.
So I know I've said this before, and I mean, I'm not trying to like beat a dead horse. Like I'm not like as strong of a fan of the series as you guys are. Like Final Fantasy to me is what Star Wars is to like Kyle or whatever.
Yeah.
But that moment especially when like Hugh and Obi-Wan is like, I am sorry. Like he's like pouring his soul out. I actually started to too. I was like, how is this hitting? Like, I'm not that connected, but like, I just felt it, man. Like, I remember the prequels. I actually did watch those because I was old enough. I was like, I'm going to go to the theater. I'm going to watch these in the theater. So like, I do remember the prequels. I don't have any strong opinions about them, negative or positive necessarily, but I felt the emotion there. Like it definitely hits you.
That was good. That was really good. I thought that was good. And then I thought, there was another moment that hit me.
It's when he's describing the
parents.
Oh my god! Yeah, I got because in that moment, he was finally able to see Anakin for like he separated the two in his head finally. Like Anakin is Anakin Darth, so he was able to say nice things about Anakin for the first time.
Right.
And like the way that he just described it to her, like to Leia, and even just like Leia looking over, and she's like, "Well, I've got parents. I don't need to know more than that." Like I was like,
the whole thing was very
this
sweet.
is like really,
and
good. Yeah.
So good.
And way to like connect it to Leia. Like here we are. Like now we know he has this actual deep connection, not just to Luke necessarily, although he's just kind of protecting Luke from afar, right? But like also he went on this journey saving the other
Leia,
Skywalker.
He had a higher connection with
right
him
than although I saw people bitching because in the original, like I saw somebody a comment somewhere or something, they were like, oh, so like then why didn't she show more emotion when Obi-Wan died in the original trilogy? It's like, well,
they didn't know they were going to connect it this way,
right?
So that's what I was talking about at the beginning. Like not every pipe in the building you're building is going to connect perfectly through the rest of the neighborhood. Right. Like you let that part go, because that's true. Now that we know they had a very close bond, I actually have said this too. And it was like, should it bother me? You know what? No. I mean, and I think Kyle
George
said
didn't even think to make them siblings until like episode 8. Right. So or but 7.
Kyle,
8, 7, 8.
Kyle said something that jumped out to me. He said,
5 and 6,
said,
maybe?
this is what happens when you tell a story out of order. Not only out of order, but you have different storytellers with different styles, and they have different like. This thing has warped and shaped. The fact that it stayed as canonized as it has is impressive.
Well, and also, can I just say, and I brought this up and kind of as a joke, but I really meant it as like a real like kind of counterpoint or whatever. She just lost her whole planet. You know what I mean? And she wasn't too cut up about that. You know what I mean? So it's allowed for her to just always be showing face because she's the princess and a senator and also a rebel leader and stuff like that. She's probably not going to be walking around going, "Oh, Ben, oh, Alderaan," you know,
right,
like, oh
right,
my
right,
God, you know,
exactly.
Like, Ben, I haven't
constantly
seen you
keeping
in
like it's part of her character to keep like a face, you know, because she is like the leader of the rebellion. So if she shows any kind of weakness, you know, like it may not. So
the bullshit.
Well, I mean, it's just like, you know, I think you can make that assumption just by like knowing her character, you know, but also these stories were told out of order 30 years apart and yada yada. So
right.
Well,
yes.
Do you think when they made A New Hope, was that 35 years ago? How many years ago is that now? 45 years ago, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do
math. I'm not here to do math. It's Saturday, dude.
Dude, they made A New Hope 45 years ago. How dare they not know that there was going to be a series in the future where they were going to connect the young Leia with Ben, and she should have reacted.
When we have the technology, we're going to tell a story. You know?
So, again, those are elements of, and
you just got to let it go. You know?
Even I, as someone who loves almost everything that's Star Wars related, I was like, that's fine. What they did here was fine because boy, did they tell a good story. And Ben and Leia had a real connection. I loved their bond by the end, and it was very moving. So, none of that stuff.
Yeah, and really just making the prequels not seem cheesy.
They made the prequels like, way better, I think.
It just made them seem like so much darker. Really like taking
really
the essence of like what like Anakin, what happens to Anakin.
Well, even just seeing that clone trooper who's like a vet, like in his armor on the streets, homeless. I was like, boy, there's some social commentary here. Whoa, like that was good. You know, throwing vets to the side when it's not wartime anymore. You know what I mean? Or they're obsolete warriors. You know, we're just gonna throw them out and not take care of them. You know, like it was dark. That's some dark stuff. And the amount of like in the prequels, Anakin ignites his lightsaber and it cuts. In this, we see him swinging low. You know, there's a lot of like you see a lot more of him actually like you know, pseudo slicing through little kids. You know, so it's like they really made everything a lot darker here. I feel like it'd be remiss to say like my favorite part is when he gets his like helmet cut in half. And you see like his burnt like, you know, body underneath there, and that whole exchange where
you hear him but you
hear tones of the mask as well.
Didn't you love the audio work there between as his voice?
But also there's a very cool like there's a moment where he's like, you didn't kill Anakin, and the blue is flashing on his face, you know, and you're like, oh, is Anakin? You know, is Anakin like showing his face here? And he's like, I killed Anakin. And then you see his red lightsaber take over the lighting of his face. And then you see his yellow light. And I'm just like, boy, they spent so much time on making sure that because I don't remember in anything ever lightsabers lighting up like this, like lighting up everything around them, lighting up people's faces. Like they really made sure to like use that as a thematic tool, you know, in this hell and. I was gonna say in old movies, like they don't even omit light at all. You know what I mean? So like they don't omit light on anything. So it's so interesting to see like lighting off of like Vader's helmet, like you see the fire.
It was like you said, they didn't light up in the original trilogy. The prequel trilogy are probably all CG. With a plastic toy or whatever, practically. So now they're actually using lighting, and I think the sequel trilogy did it a little bit with you know. You with Last Jedi when he's like, you know, Ben is or whatever, Kylo is.
You really see it in that scene.
You see it in that scene.
The lightsaber,
yeah. Damn,
that's
good stuff.
It's definitely the background. They purposefully had the kind of like it is a pretty because it's dark and it's just kind of like these like just gray, very gray, rocky background. So I think they just like purposefully had that sort of almost like really plain background to have the lightsabers really emphasized.
That's great.
Which is a great move.
Also, just like the moment like where like Obi-Wan, he's standing with like his back towards like all the like, you know, mountains and stuff like that, and Vader's coming from nothing, like it's just like a barren wasteland behind him, you know, like he's So it's just so cool to like just see that or whatever. There's like this backdrop moment where you see the moon. I guess they're on a moon, so it's the planet in the background. And then Obi-Wan standing here, and you know Vader standing over here, and I'm like, that's a background. You can download that and put on your your desktop right now, you know. A lot of cool moments like that. Qui-Gon showing up, pretty cool,
dude.
You know? Big time.
for like 6 seconds. Like,
who cares, man? Money.
But it was
shot.
just funny. It's just funny. Him
Hardcore money
showing
shot.
up the set, like,
if this
y'all
is
have got to see his Atlanta cameo. I'm telling you, you're gonna die. Like, it's so funny, dude.
Atlanta cameo is great, man.
If this is the last time that we see Obi-Wan, I know there's rumors of second season, maybe, whatever. If they don't do a second season, I'm happy with what they did here.
Yeah.
And the implication of this is how he was able to get the final training he needed to do what he does in A New Hope, to kind of disappear. Like, I'm happy with that connection. I think they're good. I could see
bridged
them
enough, I think. Yeah.
I think it is too. I don't really need more of this. I am not saying I wouldn't watch it day one. I totally would, because I love Ewan McGregor and I love Star Wars, so I totally will. I'm just saying I don't need any more of that. And I think they wrapped it up in a very smart way that allows it to be like, if this is the final Obi-Wan story, it's great. We're good.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do more.
Give that Leia kid a show.
Yeah,
give her her own show.
She's
yeah,
great.
Give her
She's
own
good little actress.
Let her grow up a few more years and give her own teen Leia.
The teen years.
Yeah, give me a Dawson's Creek on a different planet or whatever. Give me one of those.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to make sure we mentioned is they did allow Ewan to give a hello there before the show was over.
Yeah,
you had to have it. Yeah, I like how they saved it to like the last moment though.
Because there were other opportunities he could have said it throughout.
He said hello to that to Zach Kraft, and like I'm like
he's like hello, and that's the end of my greeting to you.
Yeah, and that's all because I've never said anything after that ever. A lot of fan service there, man, and like this show was kind of like filled with a lot of that fan service, but not in a way where like, because I know a lot of you guys don't watch the cartoons like that, and like y'all didn't seem lost or didn't know what was going on or didn't feel like you were missing really context or anything like that. So, and I feel like Star Wars, like you just said, has always done really well with that. You can watch The Mandalorian, they can drop a term like the Darksaber, you not know what that is, but you're intrigued still. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is. The beauty
of things like YouTube have allowed me to see so many recaps and fast versions of Rebels and the Clone Wars. Like, even though I haven't watched those start to finish, I probably never will, to be honest. There's so much content. I don't know that I'll ever watch it all the way through start to finish, every episode. I have seen the recaps and clips of all the major storylines. I knew what the Darksaber was when it showed up in The Mandalorian. I know who the Grand Inquisitor is. Like, I've seen these characters and I'm aware of who they are based on the cartoons. So that helped, of course, a lot, because I'm a big fan of it, enough to sit there through hours of YouTube content. But I don't think I would have been lost even without that stuff.
Well, no, that's the thing. That's what's cool is even if you didn't do the homework, like I don't feel like you would have been robbed of much. So. You know what I mean? But for people like me who like
do the homework at all, and I'm still like,
I'm like a walking encyclopedia for all the extra stuff that is there that isn't important to anything except for idiots like me who devote their life to it. Like that layer is there for me as well to enjoy. So it's just like I feel like they're really nailing it. Like I'd say whatever you will about Disney, like buying Star Wars, but Disney knows how to reach broader audiences. They just do. That's their whole entire business plan is casting out the biggest net possible or whatever. Yeah. So whether that's by like making Pixar movies like not age gated, so like kids and parents can enjoy them alike. Just they're doing the same thing with Star Wars, not just with age, but just with the level of fan that you are. Like all fans are welcome. Just come on in and enjoy the content. Not many do, to be fair, but it is a pretty open platform for people to come in and enjoy it at their level, without having to do like the extra work.
Yeah, I will say that the one thing that I wish we knew more about was Wade, because they were really sad about Wade, and I still don't know. Do you guys remember that in that episode at the end when they were like, Wade? Yeah. What happened to Wade?
I don't remember.
He was the guy in the other snowspeeder who got killed. So like the Asian girl who's Deborah Chow, who directs and writes all the episodes. She survived, but like Wade, the guy in the second speeder, died.
Yeah.
It was just really funny to me that was a really sad moment on that episode. But
they had mentioned earlier that they're not soldiers, so like we don't fight. We just help people. So when one of them died, that's why Tala was like, well, I guess you're soldiers now, which I thought was a really shitty thing to say after someone just died.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of, why would you say that?
as new characters go, I think Tala might have been my favorite new character of the season. I think the actress was great, and I thought her character was really interesting. I liked her.
Tala had just as much to do with Obi-Wan coming out of his shell as Leia did. They both like got him back to where he was supposed to be. Yeah.
What about the dude there that kept being like, I'm not a leader, man. I'm not a leader. But then Obi-Wan's
Roken?
Roken, yeah. Is he important?
Ice Cube's kid?
Ice Cube's son?
Yeah.
Is it?
What do you mean? Is it? He looks exactly like him. What do you mean?
Dude, wasn't he? Didn't even cross my. I didn't even put it. Now it makes sense.
So no, but they're obviously setting him up to show up in future projects like Andor or something like that, because he goes out of his way to be like, "You're a leader and don't give up." And he's like, "I'm just getting started." Yeah, I think he's going to show up in some capacity.
I think,
but he has not shown up before. Now he's a new character.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's good for now. If we need to circle back to some point, we can. But I enjoyed it. Any other thoughts before we wrap up?
Star Wars sucks, right? I mean, it's just terrible.
It's just the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean that's the poll.
We're gonna watch it again.
If you took a poll, that's what it would say.